Have you ever been in an argument and felt like no matter what you say, the other person just won? Or worse, you lost your cool and your point? What if I told you that winning every argument isn't about being the loudest, the smartest, or even having the best facts? It's about understanding something far deeper, human psychology. Imagine being able to influence anyone, sway opinions effortlessly, and come out on top every single time. Today, I'm going to reveal the hidden psychological secrets that can turn you into a master of persuasion and argumentation. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe because every video here unlocks essential lessons in philosophy, psychology, and wisdom that you don't want to miss. Let's dive in. Chapter 1. The myth of winning an argument. First, let's bust a myth. Winning an argument isn't about defeating your opponent or humiliating them. In fact, the moment someone feels attacked, they dig in their heels and refuse to change their mind. So the real win isn't knocking someone down, but bringing them over to your side. Winning is about cooperation, connection, and guiding the conversation toward a shared understanding. That mindset shift alone puts you way ahead of 90% of arguers who just want to win and end the discussion bitterly. Chapter 2. The Psychology of Defensiveness. When someone feels threatened, whether by criticism, disagreement, or embarrassment, their brain's natural defense mechanism kicks in. The amygdala triggers a fight, flight, or freeze response. This means logical reasoning often takes a back seat to emotional reactions. Key insight: if you want to win an argument, you must disarm defensiveness first. This means approaching with empathy, respect, and non-threatening language. If you make people feel safe, they'll lower their guard and listen to you. Chapter 3. Use the foot in the door technique. One powerful psychological tool is the foot in the door technique. This is when you start by asking for small agreements or concessions before moving toward your bigger point. For example, instead of blasting your whole argument at once, start by asking simple, non-controversial questions or making statements that the other person can easily agree with. This builds a sense of commitment and consistency. People like to act in line with their previous agreements, so by the time you get to the main point, they're already partially aligned. Chapter 4. Mirror and match body language and tone. Humans are wired to like people who are like them. When you subtly mirror someone's body language, tone of voice, and speech patterns, you build rapport on a subconscious level. This technique lowers resistance and increases trust, making the other person more receptive to your arguments. Be natural and subtle. The goal is connection, not mimicry. Chapter 5. Appeal to emotion before logic. While facts and logic matter, humans make decisions emotionally first and justify them logically later. If you lead with dry data, you risk losing their attention. Instead, start by appealing to emotions. Tell a compelling story, paint a vivid picture, or tap into values they care about. Once their emotions are engaged, your logical arguments will have much more impact. Chapter 6. Use the yes ladder strategy. The yes ladder is a series of questions or statements that get consistent yes responses from the other person. Each yes builds momentum and creates a psychological path that makes it harder for them to say no later. For example, do you care about this issue? Would you agree that it affects many people? Is finding a solution important to you? Once you build this chain of agreement, your final argument feels like the natural next step. Chapter 7. Avoid the but trap. Use and instead. The word but often signals contradiction and rejection, which can trigger defensiveness. Instead of saying, "That's a good point, but here's why I disagree," try, "That's a good point, and here's another perspective." This small linguistic tweak keeps the conversation collaborative instead of confrontational. Chapter 8. Know when to pause and listen. One of the most powerful moves in an argument is silence. When you listen attentively and don't interrupt, people feel heard and respected. This makes them more open to hearing your point afterward. Don't rush to fill every silence. Use pauses strategically to encourage the other person to reflect and maybe even reconsider their position. Chapter 9. Frame your argument as a shared goal. Position your argument as a partnership rather than a battle. Use inclusive language like we, us, and together to frame the issue as something you both want to solve. This fosters cooperation instead of competition, making the other person less defensive and more invested in finding common ground. Chapter 10, The Power of I statements. Using I statements like I feel, I think, or I've noticed, instead of you accusations reduces blame and conflict. For example, instead of you're wrong, say I see it differently because. This invites dialogue rather than argument. Conclusion. So how do you win every argument? By mastering human psychology, disarming defensiveness, building rapport, appealing to emotion, and guiding the conversation toward collaboration. Remember, the true win is when both sides feel understood and you leave the conversation with your relationship intact and your point made clearly. If you found these insights helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video so others can learn how to become unstoppable arguers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.